Yeah,
Right,
sure
it's
thing.
really hot here, and I've been wearing this all day. Hold on, I gotta change the shirt.
Yeah, take your time. Take your time. Yeah, welcome to another episode of the Animjam Podcast. Today we are really lucky, and we're excited to have Jean-Denis on our podcast. Yeah, what's up, man?
Not much. I don't know if you're lucky, but I paid them. I paid them.
Yeah, he wants to promote something, so we're like,
I do. The collaboration with Ritter Sport. Unfortunately, not. It's a chocolate company. One day, I will rope them into sponsoring my channel. Not sure how.
Yeah.
One day.
Yeah.
Free chocolates for life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you'll be set for Halloween then, if you can.
I will never share them.
Yeah.
Trick or treat now. Get out.
Yeah.
That's my chocolate.
You kids need your own sponsors.
Yeah.
That's right.
But yeah.
How are you guys? I always feel like no one ever asks people questions. Like when there's like this type of thing, it's always questions for the guests. But no one ever asks, how are you? Like, how are things?
Yeah, not bad.
No answer.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
It's like you threw us in for a loop.
Exactly. I'm
Yeah, I
gonna
wasn't
start asking
prepared. I
questions
didn't.
as well.
Yeah, let me get my notebook out quick.
Yeah.
I need
I think it's
all my
good.
prepared answers.
Yeah, so I was like just telling Billy, like this morning we went for like a 4-hour hike. So we weren't like I wasn't expecting that. I thought it was like an hour hike, and then it turned out to be 4 hours. And I'm like now my feet are just like.
I was gonna say 4 hours.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
Did you
Yeah.
4
pass
hours of
some
anything.
grocery stores and did you buy stuff to eat and drink?
Yeah. Luckily I had stuff packed, but yeah, my post-COVID like laziness is definitely wearing on me. I
How did
noticed
this
it on the
grow
hike.
from 1 hour to 4 hours?
I don't know. I think it was always 4 hours, but for some reason in my mind, I was like, yeah, it can't be. And like, yeah, no one in
That's
our
what they told you.
yeah, our friends are not that athletic. We're not. This is definitely not something we would do. So I was like, it must be an hour.
But
And
you
it turned
finished
out to be, yeah. Thank God. There was just one way, so we had to.
Was it 2 hours and then 2 hours back, or what did you do?
Yeah, it was 2 hours there, 2 hours back.
So no one waited with the car, like you called. Dude,
Yeah.
it's been 2 hours. I can't finish this.
Yeah.
Too late now.
Yeah, no, it's too late.
You have to walk back.
Yeah, and it was one of those hikes where it's like the beginning, like the first part was insanely steep, then it just plateaus. So the first part was like the killer, but then after that it was all right. So, but yeah,
That's it.
Yeah,
Thanks everybody for watching.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the end of it.
just about my
I
hiking
mean, I
story.
just woke up because it's the morning for me, so I don't have an epic story other than I made coffee.
You had a fantastic dream and then coffee.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, one of those dreams you don't remember, so can't even talk about that.
But yeah, well, I guess like we'll get started into the the questions.
You can edit all this out. You'll cut it.
I'm just like, yeah, no, we're keeping it in. We're keeping it in.
Keep it in.
Yeah, we're keeping it in. So yeah, we just wanted like, I guess because you have so much experience in the industry, we wanted to ask you like about basically your journey, right? And we wanted to know whether like how did you get into the industry in the first place?
Well, I guess depends how far back you go. I think industry-wise, it was basically at the beginning was my dad used to watch a ton of movies. I think that if I go slightly back, it's just growing up with movies all around and having friends who watch movies and just kind of the heyday of ILM and Disney going up and down depending on where you log into the timeline of Disney. But for me, it was Star Wars. Like that's my childhood. So basically, being interested in that was kind of around me, just kind of that universe of movies. And in terms of industry, I came to the academy to study animation, and then it was just the usual grind that everybody has, where you graduate, you work on your reel, you fail, no one calls you back, you keep working, and then timing was just great. They were looking for interns or apprentice, kind of the apprenticeship type of thing at ILM, and then that's that. So like, in a way, my experience is it's like long in terms of years, but not vast in terms of different companies. You know, like some people have like 5, 6, 7 companies within 10 years, and I'm just one. It's like the horse. It's like that's my thing. Yeah, and that's
That's really good that you got into the company that you wanted to get into. That's almost like reaching the goal.
That I certainly can't complain. That was like a daily mind-blowing experience for sure.
Yeah, but how, like, did you always know it was going to be animation, or was there?
No. I'm way too stupid. Like for me, it was just I liked movies. Like that was the extent of it. Yeah, and I didn't know how it was being made. You know, like like remember the Palpatine in like in episode 6 when he has that the lightning. This was like hand drawn, or like just it had such a specific crafted look to it. To me, I thought, everything's done by hand and it's going to be awesome, and I want to do that. And then I get to the academy in the first class. I went to visual effects, not animation, and the first class. I'm sure this memory is totally wrong, but the way I just remember it, that's my story now. I stick with it. Is that it was either math or scripting or something, but it was a class that was definitely not. Here's a pencil, draw, or do something by hand. It was just code or math or something or physics. And that was an immediate nope. I noped out of that class like 10 minutes or 30 minutes into it, and I left and then went to my advisor. And basically, not in those words, but for me, like, I'm an idiot. I know what I'm doing. I want to do something more hands-on. And then she said, I don't know, try animation. It was literally that. That's literally how stupid it was. And to me, it was always animation and visual effects was always the same thing. I thought that's just, people who do this. And then I realized slowly that's all, different stuff. And even then within animation, we had 2D class and stop motion class and CG class. And I took one 3D Max, a Max class that was physics for animators, very specific about timing and pendulums, but not by hand. It was all with graphs and codes, all kind of stuff. Not my thing either. But the teacher was Bill Kovacs, if I pronounce that correctly. Fortunately, he died. He worked on Tron, the original Tron. Okay. So his classes were like 20 minutes of theory. This is what you do your assignment, and then the rest was just stories about Tron and his time in the industry. It was fantastic. But yeah, so it's kind of like that. And then back then, the academy didn't have such a kind of organized curriculum in terms of animation. So for me, it was like history of animation, color and design, like the art history. I have a bachelor, so it's like you have a bit of everything. And then the second to last semester was an actual animation class. We had a couple Maya classes before, and then the first class was here are the principles. Like this is what you actually should be paying attention to. Yeah. And that was in fall, and then the next spring I graduated. So that was kind of it. And then then a real search, and I came back for one more semester. But that's kind of how I guess tripped into finding what I like. It could have gone horribly. That I really am bad at it. But I think to me it was always kind of the backup plan. Not really, because that was the wrong school, but I always liked sound design. To me, Skywalker Ranch and Skywalker Sound, like that environment being up there, it just fascinates me. And sound design to this day is fascinating. I don't know anything about it, but I just love it. So if I had to switch and do something else and start from scratch, it would be sound design. So in my head, I went like, well, I'm here, San Francisco. I don't know. Maybe I can switch. But then I liked animation, and it was great. And it's everything that I wanted it to be, basically.
Yeah. That's crazy how you really literally fell into it. Like it's because like I guess a counselor or someone who suggested you to it's like, hey, try this.
Thankfully she knew what she was talking about. It's like, I like twisters and lightsabers and explosions and things and Disney. It's like, I don't know. How about animation?
Horrible. Wow, she really set you up for life. That's that's the best advice anyone could ever give.
Yeah, because since I'm teaching at the academy, I still have my old profile and the old photo, and the advisor has changed. I wish it was the same one from the very beginning. Because the thing too is that this is totally off topic, but at the academy you have your advisor, but you can choose which advisor, which I didn't know either. So the first advisor gave me a couple classes, and you had stuff like design drawing, which anybody out there who does design drawing, good for you. That's great. It's just not my thing, because we were forced to stand at the desk. We couldn't sit. And then you had those big pads of paper, and then literally for an hour you have to draw lines, straight lines, and then circle. It's basically so you can sketch quickly. It was super expensive, because the amount of paper you went through and specific things you had to buy for the course, and and I was horrible at it too. It sucked. So then at one point, I talked to the students, like, to my, fellow suffering students, hey, are you here for animation? No, like no one was. So then I asked someone in animation, like, don't take this class. What are you doing? Like, take this, this, and this. Yeah, but my advisor said, no, don't go to this advisor. Go and choose her. So then I went to her, another one, which I forgot the name. And then she just changed everything again. It's like, no, take this, this, and this. And there was much more structure. Like history of animation, advanced, whatever. Like the second class for drawing, a stop motion class and stuff like that. But for that, it was color and design, which is all great to have. But industrial design sketching thing, not what I needed. No.
Wow,
it's a very similar story to me. Like how when I first started when I was studying in college, I just did a bit of everything, and I feel like sometimes you need to do a bit of everything to know what you don't want to do.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I definitely know I don't want to do
that. Actually, you guys are similar in terms of like you guys stayed in one studio almost as well. Like, yeah, because Billy, you've been with, like, I would say Boom is your one studio, other than maybe
I would say so.
Yeah,
for the longest time. Yeah, that's why we're wearing black, because
I like how that voice went down. For the longest time, yes.
Yeah.
The sadness.
Just hear the pain. Yeah.
So the ones that are the same companies wear black, is that the weird industry thing now? That's what people do.
I don't know. Black oil,
sadness. We don't want to say it. We don't want to, piss off the employers, but
yeah.
That's it. See, the mood just went. Damn.
Just straight down. Yeah.
No, but I mean, I know we're joking, but I do still like it. I mean, like, it's not like it's bad or I'm suffering or it's something I was forced into. I just, like you said, it was, for me, it was ILM was just my childhood. I just didn't know, what else was out there, and Disney. And then as I grew up, or going through high school, like Toy Story came out. So then it was Pixar, because I didn't have to draw because I can't draw. And I thought, oh, stuff on the computer is great. So for me, it was always kind of Pixar, ILM, also because they were here. So that was always kind of the, the super far reaching goals I want to have. And then, or that I had in mind. And then, luck and timing and all that fell together.
I mean, I definitely think like there's something to say about like, being at one studio, because you can really, it gives you time to like really, well, I guess when you're coming up, like really learn from one place. Like you don't feel the stress of, oh, what's my next contract,
Yes.
So, but yeah, no, that's cool.
Yeah, definitely. We have a lot of project people that come in and out, and it's hard when, like, I mean, for me now, I'm not under the same somewhat contract as before, where it's like, I'm staff, but you always you also never quite know what's next, especially back in the day during the summer. It wasn't just never sure. Now with streaming, the schedule's kind of changed, but it's never that super impending doom of you're crewed until this month and then your contract is up and then we don't know. So with staff, it's a bit of hope that they'll put you somewhere because you have somewhat priority over project people. But the ones that are project, it is absolutely brutal. And it's, I mean, pros and cons. I like the stability for sure. And at the same time, if you stay at one company since apprenticeship, times, it's not probably the best thing to do if you want to grow career-wise and salary-wise and contacts and experience, because it is that one world. Yeah. But it is also, I have a wife and 2 kids, so it's also very helpful just to be stable and know that I can pay my bills and have my kids go through school and not change cities or countries all the time.
Yeah. I think definitely changing the countries. Yeah, changing countries is like, that's the most annoying part. Man,
I feel like if you're at one place for a long time, like the opportunities come that are different as well. Like maybe they know you for so long, they trust you more for like a leadership role, and you can grow into like deeper into the company, I guess. So it really is just like, it's almost like a lifestyle choice for a lot of people. Some people just want to move around and try a lot of different things.
But I mean, also, like if you're somewhere for 10, 15, 20 years, it's also, I mean, the coworkers become your friends. Just like you go to work, and yes, the projects are cool or not, depending what you have, but it's also, you're seeing your friends every day, and you get to laugh, and why change that? I mean, there's always comes a point where you will change for, other reasons, whatever reasons you have, but that is definitely a big plus too. So you go there and talk about, back in the day, Game of Thrones and whatever you're watching before lockdown, COVID. But yeah, I don't know. Pros and cons.
Yeah. Well, was there a specific, like, I guess, project that you really liked working on during your tenure?
I would say, well, yes, it's a short answer, but
yeah.
I'm always a big fan of Episode 3, Star Wars, just because it was the very first show I was on. I think anything, and like Force Awakens, because after that was a big break, and then that was suddenly the new wave of Star Wars projects. But I also really like Star Trek. I'm a huge Star Trek fan, and to be able to work on that was really cool. And sometimes you have like Indy 4 was fairly small animation wise, but still blew my mind that I was able to just log into that show environment and see the avids and see Indiana Jones. So to me, it's kind of like working on all those childhood movies type of things are just this crazy to me.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes you have projects where you go, I don't know if that's going to be any good. And it ends up being really great in terms of working on it. You may or may not like the movie. And sometimes you have a really tough time on a show because of technical issues or just how tough it is animation wise. And maybe, like, and then you watch the movie and it's so good that you forget production, problems or whatever. But yeah, I mean, there's so many. I think that's also the cool thing about VFX is that you're going through a lot of projects. So it could be, sometimes you have a big project, sometimes you have a couple of small ones until you go to the next one. I was on Aladdin for maybe 4 weeks, and I think like Aquaman for like 2-3 weeks, and like Bumblebee for I think a day or two. You mean like every now and then you got some really small things. You get 1 or 2 shots, and sometimes they're just opening a scene, doing something, and handing it off.
Yeah.
So I like that. I like that constant change where you are on something. Like we did Space Jam 2, which was quite long. Then you have that's cartoony. Then move on to creatures. Then you move on to vehicles, and I like that. I like that constant change. But again, pros and cons. Maybe some people don't like, doing something for a couple of weeks and then moving on. They like that stability of I am on this for 2, 3, 4 years, and I can really dig into it. I mean, that's also cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, I think, I feel like having that change is pretty exciting. Yeah, because you're not ever too committed to like one shot. Sometimes you're just like, I keep looking at a shot, even just like one shot in the show. Yeah. And you're like, I just need to move on to something else. Yeah. And to jump shows like that, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. The advantage is if the show isn't that fun to work on, that it's the end is near. At some point it's gonna finish.
That is true.
But yeah, that episode 3, that's awesome. That's like, I mean, I really like, I like episode 1, 2, and 3. I know people have different thoughts. But yeah, how do you find the new Star Wars? Do you like a certain?
They're so different.
Batch better? Or?
Well, I'm old. I'm 44, so to me, I always like to say older people watch me. You're not old, or like you're really old. So to me, the original trilogy is just always going to be the thing. Not even special edition. So original trilogy. I think it was 7 or 8 or so when I saw New Hope. Yeah. So old Star Wars on VHS is always going to be, slightly fuzzy, not widescreen, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And in German, which always freaks some people out. But, I grew up in Switzerland. So for me, the original Star Wars are always in German. I barely watch them in English. And then the prequels just have a totally different feel to them.
Yeah.
And then you got the new ones that are also totally different. But then you have Rogue One, and I almost put Rogue One and Solo in kind of the same-ish group because of looks and things, but I love those two. Then you have The Mandalorian. That's also totally different. That's super new and high-tech, and at the same time, really old-school Star Wars. I don't know. So to me, it's like every different group or era has its own charm. The only thing I haven't really watched too much is Clone Wars, the TV show. I started watching it, and then stuff came up, and then you suddenly have 50,000 seasons that I can't catch up. But I really want to.
That's my excuse. I started too late, so you just can't. There's too many.
Because you read about the fandom and you read about the story. It's like, this sounds really, really cool, and visually it looks so good. Sounds great. It's just, there comes a point where you're so behind. Like, how do I catch up with this? That's a bit of a bummer. Because I do like all the Star Wars stories. I want to get that better overview, especially with Mandalorian. He kind of picks some elements from prequels and Clone Wars. I'd like to know more about that.
Yeah,
that's so cool. Yeah, so you speaking of Mandalorian, I'm curious, did you get to work on it at all?
I worked on previs for season 1, so we got to sit with Filoni and the Adam Soup and kind of hash out what to do, like how to set things up. And by we, I mean I didn't do anything. I just listened to the geniuses doing it. Like, oh, okay, now I'll do it. But it was basically previous for that. I didn't work on season 2. I'm currently working on Book of Boba Fett, which is, I guess, the unofficial season 3. Which obviously I can't talk about it, but it's very cool.
Yeah.
That's anybody who's interested in that, season 3, Book of Boba Fett, it's going to be awesome. I'm not allowed to say anything, but I guess I'm allowed to say it's going to be awesome, right? There's some really cool stuff coming.
I really like the Mandalorian, so yeah, I'm excited for it.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're doing something special. I think with the whole Disney Plus thing, with the Star Wars stuff. So I'm glad it's working out.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to so many shows, like the Obi-Wan TV show, which I know nothing about, but I can't wait. I want to see more.
I didn't even know there was going to be an Obi-Wan TV show.
Yeah, McGregor's back. They said Anakin or Hayden Christensen is back. I don't know. That's what I read online. I don't even know internally what that's going to be. Yeah. But just as a fan, I wanna see it.
Yeah, the rumor mills. I hear a lot of stuff about him, but yeah, it's pretty exciting. I like Ewan McGregor as
as Obi-Wan.
I think good job. Yeah.
But
so just to pivot a little bit, I guess you've been in the industry for a long time, even though it's at one studio.
Mm-hmm.
So I was curious to ask, like, what do you think, how do you have career longevity? Like, is there something special to that? Or like, do you think it's like a bunch of different factors that add to career longevity?
That's a good question. I think that's going to be very personal and subjective. I think the reason why they haven't fired me yet is I just like being there. So to me, it's always kind of the combination of the drive to do well and to make the shots look cool. Also because I like working on them. So that kind of drives, it's kind of like it's self-eating thing of I want to make it look cool, but also like it a lot. And because of that, I think I've developed a really good workflow at ILM because we have a lot of really cool tools where I can be fast. And I think longevity for me has been speed and finding solutions, I guess. Like I complain a lot at work. We have end of show reviews. I point out we should do this, and this. But a long time ago, one of the soups, animation soups, told me, I had something. I can't remember which show that was. Must be like Super 8 or something. Can't remember. But I brought up the shot that didn't work. And he looked at me and said, don't come with problems, come with solutions. And he wasn't complaining. He was joking while being super serious. And that always stuck with me. And it's so true. Like I'm just adding more problems to the soup's plate. He has enough to do already. So I think with that, I always try to, if I have something that doesn't work, I try to give at least options, or what we call alts, like different shots. I do the shot that's asked of you with the notes, but then maybe if there's time, different versions, so that if something doesn't work, I say, listen, this is what we did, this is what the client wants, but in case, what about this and this? So they only need to choose. They don't need to come up with anything. And I think workflow and hopefully bringing up good options has been the ticket to longevity for me. I don't know. I'm not like, I like what I'm doing, but I try to not have an ego about it. Like every now and then you see a shot and you're like, yeah, that's cool. And then, 5 minutes later you're bored by like, it looks like crap. So I try to kind of always realize where I am and what I have, if that makes sense. Which probably in of itself already sounds really arrogant. But I mean, like, bigger picture wise, I don't take it for granted. So I try to just be nice and be kind and just appreciate what you have. Because you always hear stories every night for some people with massive egos, and it's just such a bummer and a turnoff. Like, really? Because what we're doing is really not, I mean, I'm not saying not special, but we're not curing cancer. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I love movies, and clearly movies have had a huge influence on me. So it's like, yes, they have influence on people for sure, and they can change people's, perceptions and minds and inspire people. But at the end of the day, we're still not curing cancer. So to me, to have a massive ego about it and just be a jerk, I hate that. So I try to just not do that and just be nice and be kind and be fast and be productive and, save the company money. Like, time is money. I don't know. Like, I want to do good work and I enjoy it. And I think that's a really long answer. And I don't know if that answered your question.
No, that's a great answer.
I don't know.
It's I guess it's kind of like the Dunning-Kruger effect, I think, with animation, where like when you start and you don't know anything, you think you're really good. And then I think the longer you stay in the industry, the more you learn about animation, the deeper you get into it, the more you realize, I don't know anything. Like
Yes.
compared to these guys who are really good, like I feel there's so much room to cover.
Well, I mean, there I also say, because I've been only at one company, it's also a bit of a like a security blanket in a way. Like, I don't have to worry about being laid off every 3 months or 6 months. And I think that relaxes you to then just focus on work and be better. But that's also really easy to say. So anybody that has to constantly switch companies, and like we said, like maybe switch cities, even switch countries, how is that longevity? Because that is going to eat at your mental, peace in a way. So I think it really depends what you're given and how you're able to cope with things. So I can say it's been great for me also, but because I've had it quote unquote easy because I have been at only one company. So again, for me, longevity is within that context, I guess. But if I had to change companies every year, I don't know how that much would break me down, and if I would have longevity. So I don't know.
I mean, I was actually like, me and Billy were talking about it like last week, how because I just changed companies, and there's definitely something about when you're at a company that you've been at for a while that really gives you the freedom to, you're not, like you said, you're not bound by certain, like, I guess, insecurities in some ways, because when you first go into the company, you want to do well. You want to at least like prove that, oh, you belong here and you do like decent work and you're worth the hire, right? So in itself, like, you're sort of putting yourself in a, I guess, more stressful environment, whilst like if you're comfortable with the place, like you said, you just like more free to, you're not second guessing every decision you might be making. But yeah, like, do you like, when you have like, do you ever talk to like, I guess, for example, if junior animators come in, is there something specific that you like, qualities that you see in junior animators that you're like, oh, okay, I can imagine this person having a long lasting, a good career?
That's a tough one. We don't really have that many junior animators, at least in San Francisco. I think Sydney is growing, and anybody working there will have a better overview. I think London has been growing. You mean like those companies? There's a lot more. I think San Francisco is shrinking a little bit in terms of projects. At least to me, it seems like. But I don't know. I'll be also working from home. You have less of an overview. Yeah. So I'm not sure. I'm not super in touch with new hires because I don't feel like we have super juniors there. But again, I can't talk really too much about company stuff. Yeah. But I think I can turn this around and look more at students, because I do teach a lot. And there it's like some students just have that affinity for timing and humor and just a certain spark in what they add to the characters, but also how they approach the shots in terms of absorbing different workflows and trying stuff. I think the last time I saw that was Mario Orlando. He's not a junior. He's worked at Turner for 15 years and joined ILM, I think, during Turtles, and then left and came back. So he's definitely not a junior. But he brought like such an overall knowledge to this. I remember, and I don't know if we can talk about it. I can't talk about this. How about this? It was, we had to do something, and it was a repetitive task. And with his knowledge about scripting, the second day in, he said, well, what about this? And he just created a drop-down tool thing where the things we had to do just were faster. Yeah. And that just blew my mind as I realized how old I am and how much I don't know. And it was really cool and really scary. But I think stuff like that is really neat when I'm just so hopelessly only animation centric. I mean, at least with ILM, we know creatures and vehicles and every now and then, cartoony stuff and vehicles and cameras. It's a bit of everything, and maybe kind of filmmaking, composition, previous type of stuff. But I don't know anything out that. I don't know simulations or scripting, anything that would just give you a bit of an edge in terms of competitiveness. So when Mario came in, like, I need to learn a lot more. And I say this, and I still haven't done it. This was years ago, and I just don't have time. Yeah. So yeah.
I mean, all the things you mentioned that you already know, that is a big range
that's
already. That's a huge range.
I only know like camera preface.
No.
Cartoony
that is
vehicles.
not what how I meant it. But you know, like you are like we've done Rango and I've done Space Jam, and that's the extent of within a professional environment doing cartoony stuff. I learn cartoony at school and I teach cartoony stuff. So like, teaching is all cartoony and work is all realistic. But there's just such a difference between doing it on a day-by-day basis. It's like when you, like we said, like a couple of weeks on the show, a couple months, and then bam, Space Jam was like a year. So suddenly you're in this cartoony mode every day. Just you know it because you learned that in school, but when you get back into that rhythm, that's just such a change. I love it. But if you have that plus scripting and simulations, you mean like it's just like those not non-animation related, but it's almost like its own separate job, and it's just such a good plan B to have. I just don't have a plan B. I'm desperately holding on to my plan A, and then when I see people and students, you know, like they show up and they did this tool wise, they render it nicely, or they put this in Unreal or something. It's just I feel like people nowadays just know a lot more. It's not just I studied animation, that's it. It's like no, I know all these extra elements and I can survive doing other things. Like that to me is humbling and scary and a kick in the butt, and I can't do any of this. Yeah, it's a rambly answer.
Yeah, like kids, like I feel like kids definitely know more stuff, and like straight out of graduation, some of the reels I see, I'm like, oh my god, like it's
you're old.
So nicely rendered.
You know you're old when you refer to them as kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even think we've been around that long to you know, like I feel like the generation after us is already so far like ahead in terms of like where they're at when they leave, you know, school or college or whatever. And I can't even imagine the next generation after them, because it seems like it's exponential. So
yeah, especially with the tools that you have, what you can do nowadays. Billy, how long have you been working? I don't even know. Sorry, I should have known, but I don't know.
I've been around, I'd say my first job was about 10 years ago in the industry. So
And Jamie?
My first, so I was working in TV for a bit. And I actually started off as an investment banker, and then I quit that. And then I was working, I wasn't in animation. I was just like, I was sort of figuring out what I wanted to do other than investment banking.
Okay.
So I was just in this, at the time I was in Hong Kong because of my partner. And I moved there, I went to the small production studio and we were doing commercials. Then did that for 3 years. Then I finally got like a TV gig in Melbourne, and that's where I met Billy. And then I went to Animal Logic to work with Rob Coleman. And that's, so that was when I really actually got into animation. So that was like 2015. Yeah.
See, then we start asking you questions. Now this is Rob Coleman was the Adam Soup on episode 3.
Yeah. He always tells us about like his Star Wars stories. It's really
great.
Yeah, and he's such a nice guy.
Oh, I was going to say the kindest man. He has such patient man. But it was great. That's one extra layer why I have such a fond memory of that show, just because of the people that were involved, you know, with the whole project, and Rob was part of that.
Yeah. So. Yeah, he's like he's not just a good soup. He's very gracious with his time, like teaching people and not make you feel, because when I hopped on as junior, I had some pretty stupid questions now thinking back, and he didn't make me feel bad or feel like he was just so like I think he definitely made me enjoy animation and set me on my path, I think.
Yeah, so. I mean, it could have been totally different if my first job had been someone who just kind of yells at you for a year, you know, would have been totally different experience. But he was so nice and so patient, and like he always had a smile. Like I can't remember him being grumpy. You know, there's a lot of pressure. You finished the whole prequel trilogy, and I don't know, he was always in a good mood and super helpful.
I mean, I think it has to do with experience too, right? Like I think he's probably seen everything, even
he's very comfortable.
I think even by episode 3, he's already got so much experience, and I guess when he was souping me, it was already like whatever, I've probably seen a version of this of this happen before. So it's like it's just one of one of those things. But yeah, does it like, has any of, since you're teaching as well, like, I guess, do you ever feel frustrated when you're teaching? Because I can see it like when you're teaching someone young and maybe they think they know it all, that can be sort of frustrating, or like, what's the teaching experience like?
That's funny because I've been grading everybody this week because it's finals for at least the academy right now. And I always point this way. I don't even know if geographically the academy is this way. I live up north. Yeah. It's a bit of everything. It's definitely interesting in terms of how everybody approaches a shot differently, and how people absorb learning material differently, how they react to critiques. If they're defensive, or they want more, or they just kind of zone out and don't really listen. Sometimes some students are just so good that I feel like I'm not teaching them anything. I'm learning from them. Like, I don't know, there's such a range. And sometimes it's, hesitate to say frustrating, because to me, it's always, well, if they don't do what I expect them to do, because they're new to it, it's not their fault. I mean, maybe at some point someone has to listen, actually do the work. But I always feel like if that's not what I was expecting, then I didn't find the right approach to get to that person, if that makes sense. Now, not naming names, clearly. There was a student this week where there was something, I opened up their scene and looked at it, and chess controller has 0 animation on it. And I think that was, I actually got really frustrated because I'm recording my critiques, so I upload them so they can watch the critiques instead of just writing things down. And I think even in my recording, I said, this is frustrating. I think the first time I think I said that out loud, but it was just, it was like a wave of frustration, shock, surprise, bafflement, if that's an English word, and then curiosity. Like, interesting. Why would there be no animation on the chess control and everything's through the root? So I kind of went through all stages of grief and then tried to get back into it and trying to understand. Say, okay, well, I must have explained something really badly if that is not there. But at the same time, maybe I don't know, like the student, because it's an online thing where I don't really know them too well. So maybe the students never got time, but never communicated that they had no time. Or sometimes you also have students don't care. It's art school. It's like, let me try something. And then you can tell they just don't care at all, which is fine. Maybe their parents told them to take that class, or the school, or, it's not, I'm not here to judge, but sometimes you have students, the interest level goes up and down. So then you can put in as much teaching as you want. It's not going to matter because they're not going to take it and do something with it. Yeah. But yes, it definitely goes through all kinds of, emotional ranges. But ultimately, I've been still really lucky with the group of people. Because Academy is art school where, again, you're kind of finding your way, potentially, you're not quite sure, versus Animation Mentor, you're going to do animation when you sign up there. And it's just such a different world. And with mentor students, they're so focused and there's such an interest. And I like both. I like when you sit in a Q&A and they know what they want to do. And they have either questions or not, but it's just a different focused environment. But then also like the Academy where they don't know. And it's your job to hopefully give them a spark where they realize that's actually really cool. Like, I like this. Like, basically how I had the same thing at the Academy. I didn't know what it's going to do. Like, like twister, light effect, or whatever effect. And then finally, Lisa Mullins, I always like to credit her, when she was running around that classroom, acting things out and handing the 12 principles, 10, like all the different lists that she had was from like 5 principles, 10, 12, 20 from all different people, and Disney tape, study this. That just made my head explode. And I just hope that I can do the same thing for students that take my classes, basically.
Thanks for watching or listening to our content. If you like what you saw, feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks again. Peace.